So, Black Friday, obviously I probably bring in a lot of dread already to people in the PPC departments out there, but while it's a hectic time, it is a great time obviously to boost your ROAS, boost the sales and things like that. And I think the main point to start off with is to plan early as possible, really. Most people have a marketing calendar pretty much most of the time. So on there should be the seasonality kind of things, which is Christmas, any type of promotions throughout the year. You've got Mother's Day, Father's Day, it tends to have promotions based off the business. But Black Friday is by far the biggest one. So for Black Friday, this really the first stage is probably going to work like with a synergy between, the PPC departments, whether it's internal or external. The whole point of that will be really to make sure that everything is aligned and planned, not only for the PPC side, but also the business side. So that's, for example, teasing of the Black Friday promotions. So if you're doing a 25% discount, let's just say, making sure that's on, your website banners early to make sure that people are aware it's coming up. We could do that from our side on the ads, just kind of putting, Black Friday sales coming soon, just to give some more visibility of that, especially for paid social, which is probably going to be really heavily reliant on the creatives. So teasing that some Black Friday stuff's coming, and then obviously, the promotions that are run throughout it. Planning early is important, especially for PPC, because CPC bids and budgets are going to be very different in this period compared to, basically every other part of the year. And the reason for that is the competition. Most e-commerce businesses are going to be doing Black Friday sales. So really what the problem is that everyone is going to really push their budget a bit further to get those sales in and also raise up their CPCs. And the whole point of that is just because they essentially want to steal traffic from someone else, so someone else will put it up. So really look at what your historic data is saying. So the first stage is to look at, if you have the data, to look at Black Friday from the previous year, see what your CPC bids were then, how much budget you put on, how much that returned. Obviously, the key point here is to look at your ROAS figures, how much you put in versus how much, if you gained out of that. I think stage one is really to plan this, look at budgets, how much we're putting behind it, and how we're going to push that out, and look at the CPCs. If you don't have the CPC bids from the previous year, it's always just best to go in and kind of look at your historic data and kind of just up those. If you're not using a manual bidding strategy, which, let's be honest, everyone is moving away from manual everything to this automation process, especially with the rise of Performance Max, you're going to have to be looking at things like your ROAS targets. If you're using a ROAS target bidding strategy, you might actually want to lower your ROAS targets. The reason for that is because it kind of prioritizes volume over the returns. If you've got a decent enough sale going on, the extra volume is going to help you bring in those returns, so it doesn't necessarily hinder your efforts reducing your ROAS targets. So let's say you want a ROAS of 4, reducing that to 3 could actually increase your ROAS to 5 or 6 because you've got a sale on, you've gained that extra visibility from doing that. And then, as a result, you're going to get additional conversion value off the back. If you're using things like target CPA bidding strategies, this might be the time to kind of not focus as much on efficiencies. What you really want to do is boost your volume as much as possible, get as many people to see your adverts, and really just advertise. If someone wants that product, that you sell it, you stock it, and not only the USPs of why to buy from you, but also the fact that you've got a very hefty sale, which hopefully there will be at the time, a hefty sale on, which can bring some people into the business that way. But all of this needs to be pre-planned. If you're going into Black Friday and you're upping your bidding strategies, your CPC bids, upping your budget last minute, you're going to be kind of fumbling all over the place and not really ahead of the curve. So that's why pre-planning is just so important early on. So as I was saying, the PPC department and obviously the e-com business itself do need to work in conjunction with each other. And the biggest thing is stock. If you are pushing out all of those adverts to as many people as possible, really pushing your sale, the visibility, that you've got all these unique products, the problem is a lot of businesses face is stock. If you've not got the stock to deal with the demand, that's really going to make the whole kind of campaign just kind of fumble, especially if your top sellers are out of stock, because it tends to be that those are the ones that got out of stock first. And obviously they're the performance drivers, the hero products as some people call them. And essentially if they go out of stock, then that's kind of already skewing all of your data because it's not accurate. If you've got stock issues, you're not going to get an accurate representation of the efforts you're putting in. So really with this, you just need to make sure that not only you're pre-planning your marketing efforts, your campaigns, your budgets and your bids, you're also making sure that as a business, you've got email banners going out, emails going out to prospects as well, explaining about your Black Friday offers to a remarketing list. And then lastly, the stock is taken into account. You've got extra stock in to deal with the supply and demand of the whole period and the seasonality. So with the assets, so going back to the search campaign, if you pin the headline, that will make sure that it always shows. Now, when you pin a headline, it will lower your quality score. However, this does not affect delivery, and it's just an indication from Google in terms of, the fact that they can't sift through as many headlines as they would like because one is pinned. It shows to them that essentially the advert is not as high a quality. So it will affect those quality scores, but the quality scores mean nothing. They're kind of like a vanity metric from Google. So you are better off just pinning that sale. So it's front and center every time your campaign is serving that the Black Friday sale is on, and this is your discount you're going to get. There are other assets as well that you can do. So you can set up a promotion in your Merchant Center account. That means that you will show that your price is decreased on the shopping feed when the products come up. And then you can also add a promotion to your Google Ads account as well. So again, Black Friday, put in the run dates, and then just that will get called out. There are other asset types you could use, completely up to different people's preference, but I like to add them into the call outs as well. So the call outs like little snippets that kind of come out onto the advert to call out different parts of the business. No harm putting a Black Friday promotion in the call-outs there as well. So essentially, this is what I mean by maximize your assets. Anywhere that you can put something to do with your Black Friday sale, basically plaster it everywhere. That means just the visibility of the sale is really strong. So when people see the brand, they're really, excited to be pulled in by this offer. It's kind of a hook to get them to come in. And then once they're in, you've got them, and then hopefully they convert from there. Yeah, so the thing with seasonality is it kind of is a knock-on effect. So once one kind of seasonality event has passed, it's kind of all go on the next one. Planning-wise, should be months before. This should all be planned out months before. The banner should be ready to go. Obviously, the actual sale, some people don't even know what sale they're doing, how much percent they're giving off, what offers there are. So all that should have been really pre-planned. But as we know, Halloween is actually just before, and Halloween actually does make a lot of revenue. Maybe not on the PPC side, but a lot of businesses, depending on the business, can really market Halloween and I guess the autumn period with autumn sales. So what should be happening is there should be that instant switch from when Halloween finishes, moving into November, which is the day later, and then the banners should be going off on people's websites from then saying Black Friday sale coming soon, kind of keep your eyes peeled. Teaser adverts, what we call them. Paid search, not so heavily pre-planning because it's kind of more very focused on when the actual sale goes live. So yeah, again, the planning needs to be there, but the actual assets and teasers don't need to be. With paid social, a bit of a different story. I'd say with paid social, you need a separate advert for Black Friday, and you could even launch a pre-advert really just to say Black Friday sale coming soon, or teasing for Christmas, etc., and trying to get some of that hype out there already beforehand, just so people are aware. But I do think that paid social and email marketing lists are far more important at that stage than the PPC stuff is. The PPC stuff needs to basically be ready to go and then launch when the Black Friday sale launches. What you can do, you can set up a promotion, assets, everything ready to go, and then you just need to make sure the day the sale goes live, it all launches, because you need to capture that traffic really from day one. But again, planning is everything. But in terms of teasing, I don't think it's necessarily important for PPC from the paid search kind of side. So one thing that should be pushed throughout the year as a business across PPC, not just on PPC, pretty much across everything, should be on the website, PPC, paid search, paid social, etc., is your USPs. And a lot of people get a bit confused about USPs, I always find, but there are two types I kind of see as the core USPs, and one is the brand USP. So that is your USP as a business. This relates to your delivery offers. How much do people have to spend to get free delivery? Why use you? What ingredients do you use? Where is the business located? How long is the delivery? Is there express delivery? Is there a secure checkout? These are kind of a lot of brand USPs, what do you get behind the brand? Some brands actually, including the skincare client that was just mentioned, give out free products as well with certain amounts of purchases. That's a brand USP because they're not buying it for the products. They're buying essentially because they're getting something out of it by using that brand. Then you've got the product USPs. So they're things like, the price of the product, quality of the product, the convenience of the product, the reviews on the products as well are really important, not only for brand reviews, but product reviews as well. And the main thing for PPC through Black Friday is to make sure that they're plastered on everything as well. Because again, the competition is far higher. It's really tough. So you need to just make sure all of your USPs are on there. A big mistake I see a lot of businesses do, great products or amazing products or, trust our products, etc. And the problem with that is it's not giving the user much. It's saying, you've got a great range of products or you've got, great quality products, but really you need to get some nitty gritty, parts of that behind it. So you could say, your products are vegan. Let's say for the skincare client, your products are vegan, products are alcohol free, they're good for sensitive skin, they use grade A ingredients, they're organic. Those are kind of things that you can plaster on because it's essentially the consumer's choice to decide, do I buy this, cheap skin cream that's from Home Bargains for £2? or do I buy this £30 skin cream from this company? I'm tempted to buy it, but it's £30. It's got a 25% discount. Maybe that's going to sway me to buy it. But then you need to pull them in with these USPs, because if you're putting things that are too broad and they're not very specific, they're not giving anyone a reason to spend that additional money to get them, regardless of the sale. So USP should be a thing focused on all year round, but especially on Black Friday with the increased competition. You just need to make sure you're standing out away from the competitors, and that's the best way to do that. So put them in the headlines, put them in your call outs, your assets, your site links, etc., as many as possible, and just try and get as much visibility as you can. One thing is, if you're using performance max campaigns, I would say audience signals are quite important. So like I say, everything's moving towards automation, machine learning. And audience signals are quite interesting because what they do is they give the campaign data over what people are interested in those products. So what you can put in is interest targeting data. So people interested in skincare products, let's just say, people interested in moisturizers. And again, if it's to do with, like I was saying before, about grouping the products by symptom, putting people who are interested in, wrinkle cream, etc. And you can put all those in there. Essentially, they're looking at search intent and then kind of matching what that person looks like. So they're kind of building a consumer profile. So it will tell you in the corner, let's say 50% out of these terms you put in are female, 65% of them are, aged between 18 to 24, etc. So what that will do is it'll kind of create this ideal consumer to push these adverts out to. So audience signals are great. It's not going to limit you only pushing into them. It's just going to give the system an idea, which will help rush the learning period a bit more to tell them that this is your ideal consumer. So I wouldn't touch demographics, because essentially by putting the interest in, they know who your demographics are anyway. You don't want to be cutting anyone out. So I would use those kind of signals. And then also in signals, you can use similar websites, which is basically where you put in a website that's similar to your own. And it essentially tells the system that people who might be interested in your products like these websites. So again, they can build a consumer profile from that. So basically just giving the system as much data as you possibly can, because it'll help it learn quicker and help it deliver to the right people. If you're missing key information to the system, it's not going to do so well. It's completely different with search. It's basically only focused on search intent with search. Shopping's the same thing. It's very search focused. But when it comes to Performance Max, you've got all this data, use it, utilize it, maximize your assets, and fill in all the information you possibly can. The more the better, really, without going too granular. With audience signals, people are a bit afraid of using them because they think it cuts people out, but it just gives all it is like a little learning to give the machine an idea of where to push your advert. It doesn't limit you at all, so it's worth using audience signals throughout Black Friday as well. So as an example, a case study that we've done for a skincare client at our company was focusing on the Black Friday promotion again for them. The good news is that we've worked with them previously, so we could, it's really good to focus on year-on-year metrics rather than month-on-month, because you're going to get a more representative view because it's the same period each year. So you can obviously measure your last year versus this year. So our biggest challenge, obviously, is always to make sure that we're increasing our return and our ROAS figures every Black Friday. So for this skincare client, we decided to do just that. So they ran a 25% off promotion through Black Friday, which lasted about a week, because as most businesses know now, that Black Friday is no longer just a day on the Friday. It tends to be a Black Friday kind of week. And then obviously you have Cyber Monday, which comes slightly after. They all kind of merge into this quite hefty sale period, which is great because it gives more time, to get these things pushed out there and then obviously generate revenue off the back. They ran that promotion. We then set up campaigns to support that, kind of maximized all of the stuff behind our campaigns. So again, like I've just said, upping the CPC bids where applicable. So essentially we're looking at the keywords that converted the most. And now this doesn't have to be just last year. This could be just throughout the year. We know which keywords have converted the best. We know which products have converted the best throughout the year. So it's all about giving those extra visibility. We already know they're high-performing products and keywords. So essentially, they're the places where we need to up the bids the most. So if you've got a shopping campaign, up the CPC bids on those products. If you've got a search campaign, up the CPC bids on those search terms as well. Additionally, on side of that, this is a really good time to push your highest costing products. Now, this is a strategy not everyone uses, but this actually works really well for the skincare client. So essentially what we did was we looked at their highest costing items that also sold the best and then pushed them the most, more than anything, even more so than the highest performing items. The reason for this is because even with the 25% discount, they're still really high value products. So, people essentially think they're getting quite a good deal getting 25% off, but they're still spending a lot. So it's bringing a lot of revenue into the business. So focusing on those high value products really worked. What we did with them, which is a strategy we kind of followed all year, is essentially categorize the skincare products by symptom. So for example, fixes for, I guess, aging skin, which is quite popular at the moment to deal with. So things like, wrinkles, age spots, etc. So housing those into a campaign that focuses on symptoms and then the products associated with that, along with the search element. Now, you can either do a shopping or a search, or as everyone's moving to Performance Max. If you do Performance Max, you're bringing those assets together anyway. You can also turn asset expansion on, which means that based off their search term, the actual search campaign that's kind of linked into Performance Max will take them to the relevant page that they want. So everything's kind of geared up for their search intent. So we split them off by symptom. So again, de-aging was really strong for their product line. We also focus on things like dry skin, skincare for sensitive skin, etc. Obviously, maximize the assets, as kind of said in the beginning, just making sure that the sale is plastered on everything. From there, once we've done that, we can then just make sure that there's more of a budget push towards those higher performing products. Again, the biggest point about the CPC bit is the value is obviously a huge part of it, but essentially, if you have a higher CPC bid, you're going to be ranking higher on the page and also earlier in the shopping feed. So you're kind of one of the first few products on the feed. And that's because if someone's looking for a product, you kind of want to be front and center. So you want to see the product that you want and then also, kind of jump on that. You're not going to flick through the second page of Google. You're not going to flick through a couple of pages on the shopping results. You want kind of what's on that first bar. So it's crucial to be there, especially through Black Friday when everyone is upping their budgets and CPCs. If you don't do that, you're going to fall behind. So pre-planning really helps, getting all those bids up, making sure all the assets are maximized, and then focusing on the high converting, high cost products and also the high converting products in general anyway, or products with a high ROAS, which tends to be the higher costing ones. Once we got from there, we kind of got that all pushed out to people. It seemed to work because we managed to increase not only our visibility year on year by 50%, we also managed to increase our conversion rate by about 550%, which is a huge markup in terms of how much of the rate of conversions is going through. Overall, that led to an increase of our total conversions by 25%, and then also the conversion value as well by about 10%. But again, this is 10% higher than it was on the previous Black Friday, so that is a really good sign that obviously everything is working off the back of that. Plus, it also means we spent more on getting that extra visibility, but we haven't lost any money because we've actually brought in more revenue. So as long as everything is up on that kind of side of things, it doesn't really matter about spending more because you kind of have to accept you will be spending more on Black Friday. You want to get those returns. So we did really well and we managed to gain a ROAS of 11.27 for the period, which is fantastic because anything really above a ROAS of 4 is going into great territory. Obviously, the higher the better, but a ROAS above 10 is phenomenal. So to get a ROAS of 11.27 was fantastic for them. They were really happy. Plus, like I say, we can mirror pretty much the strategy throughout the year. It's just really focusing on those Black Friday tactics through that period to navigate through, but grouping everything up in terms of manual campaigns, making sure we've got some manual control, and then for the non-manual campaigns, making sure that within the product feed itself, we're showing the products that are going to do best through Black Friday, not the whole range. Sounds counterproductive to, let's say, cut out, some products from the range, but if you know they're not going to do well or bring in low returns, there's kind of no point really pushing them out there. They're still on your website and you'll still get organic traffic from them if people want them, but we don't need to push out things that aren't going to convert as well as they really should be doing. So that's kind of the key point with this, really.